Greetings, everybody. Lars here. I'm getting rained on. I'm shooting this Monday afternoon. I got lucky. I was out on my bike, and I took a vacation day today, and the rain just came down like crazy while I was in the Middlesex Greenway. But then it stopped pretty quick, and I got home, and then all of a sudden, boom! Now the world's opening up. It's really, really bad. But I wanted to hop on real quick and do this first video for functions. Now, I'm going to try to do it quick, but like I always say, I want to make sure you get something out of it, so I don't want to be too quick. But it's going to be quicker than I usually do it, because usually at the end of this video, I rewrite the Euler 6 program with functions. I think I'm going to wait this time. I'm going to wait until the end of the review videos, and then I'm going to do it with not just functions, but I'm going to do it with libraries and some other stuff. I'm going to do a super-duper version. So I think instead of 3 videos, you're going to get 4 videos this go-round. But I want to do this one real quick, just to go over the first third of the slides and let you see some function stuff in action. So I don't know if you can hear that rain. It is coming down like sheets. Crazy. I'm getting water here on the sill. Bizarre. All right. As you can see here, I have a very simple list. And the reason I do that is because I'm going to show you that we've been using functions all along. You already know them. I mean, Zell introduces them pretty quickly. As you can see, I can use the sum function. Let's get a little setup here going. You've been using int for casting. You've been using string for casting. You've been using print. I have to print so we see it. You've been using type. Yeah. So if I do a type of my list, tell us it's a list, class list. You're going to find out what that class thing means soon. So we've already been using functions. These are pre-made functions called the built-ins that Python already has. Let's go to Googs, and you can see if I type in Python docs built-ins, it'll take us right there. We want to go to 3.6, not 2.7. As you can see, 2.7 is still popular, and you can see there they're listed. Remember, Python docs, your best friend. I mean, the entire instruction manual is online for you to use whenever you want, and all the different versions, all the different things. And you can see right there, you've used int, you've used input, do not use eval. You've used a whole bunch of these. You're using print right now. You've used sum, string. So you're getting introduced to a bunch of built-ins. If you want to come and play around with them and see what they do, you can go to any one, click on them, and learn what they are. ABS returns the absolute value of a number. You give it a negative, it'll just give you the volume, the absolute value of it, okay? So those are the built-in functions, but we're not really super concerned with the built-ins right now. We want you to understand how the built-ins work. They have a name, sum, they have an argument list. In this case, the thing you want to sum up, I mean to say, it needs to be an iterable, something you can count over, okay? And then you have the answer, the return value, and that's basically the anatomy of a function. You have a name, you have an argument list or something that you give that function to work with, and then you have a return value. The function does work, and then it returns a return value. But basically what we want to do, I think, is we want to create our own. So what I'm going to do, what I usually do, is I'm going to create a function called multicube. And what it's going to do is it's going to take 2 integers. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply those 2 integers and cube that result. Okay? So when we use our multicube function, it's going to take 2 integers, multiply them, cube the result. So what's the first thing we're going to do? First thing we're going to do is we're going to type the keyword def. Okay? The keyword def. Oh, let me move the microphone over there. It's probably getting soaking wet. I don't even think, because I'm used to using this. I'm used to using the microphone in the laptop, but I got a Yeti set up recently because I was doing some audio recording, and I've been using that now for the Camtasia stuff. I don't know if you can see it. And that's actually what I'm doing the audio recording with, but sometimes I just push it off to the side and I forget it's there. So I'm gonna make sure the sound isn't so messed up so you can actually hear me. All right. Def keyword, that means define. You're going to see we use it in a couple of different places. It's used when we create functions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name my function multicube, and then I'm going to tell Python I'm going to take 2 variables, an A and a B. And then like we do when we want to set up a block, we say colon enter. It indents me 4. So now I'm ready to start putting in the commands of my different function. And basically all I'm going to do is this. I'm going to say z equals a times b. All right, I define z here so I don't have to say z equals 0 first because it's not here. Remember, Python evaluates functions from right to left. So if I had a z on the right side, I have to make sure it exists. But since I'm creating it here, it's okay to do it without. Do you hear that? It's like Noah's flood is coming down Hickory Street in Metuchen. I'm going to get washed away. This may be my last testament while I'm doing a Python video. There are worse ways to go than doing a Python video while you're swept away into the Raritan River. Actually, it would sweep me into the Atlantic Ocean, but I digress. Z equals A times B. So what's the next thing we want to do? We can return a value. I want to return Z, but I want to return its cube, right? Notice after I did the return and I hit enter, Python knows I want to get out of Dodge because that's a return. Sometimes in your functions you're going to have multiple returns because you're going to set up logic and you're going to say if this is true, return this, else return this. So sometimes that's not very helpful, but actually in idle it won't do it if you're within an if construct, but there are other times when it does it that you don't want it to do it and it's a real pain in the butt. But let's test. Print multicube. Now, you name functions similar to this way we name variables, okay? Avoid punctuation. It's always a good idea. Avoid double underscores. They have a secret meaning in Python. We call them dunders. We're going to get to that later. Avoid double underscores, and you should be fine. Remember, Python cares about case. So a capital N is different than a lowercase n and things along those lines. Let's see, I'm going to do 2, and then I'm going to do 3. Okay, so print multicube 2, 3. What's going to happen when we do this? Let's trace through the code. Multicube 2, 3. I come up here to my definition. Multicube. A is going to be equal to 2. B is going to be equal to 3. Okay, so Z is assigned the value of A times B. 2 times 3 is 6. So Z equals 6. I come down here and I return Z cubed. 6 times 6 is 36. 36 times 6, 216. So print multicube 2, 3 should give me 216. Let's find out. Thank God it still works. And it does. So now you might be saying, okay, that's great, big deal. Why didn't I just do it the way we used to do it and I could just print it out? Well, because now I have all that logic codified. And if I want to do another multicube, I can reuse this. Okay? Boom. Now I'm doing more. Now I'm doing different numbers. Okay? All in one line. So I don't have to worry about rewriting that logic for different things. I codified my logic up here, and then I'm using the function for a bunch of different things up there. All right? All right. Good, good, good. Now, let's zot this out, but just this. And let's explore two different things. The first thing we're going to explore is, what if I wanted to print, let's say print multicube 2, 3, and then I want to also print Z. All right, what's going to happen when we do that? Print multicube, it runs through everything and it prints 216, right? Print Z. Well, up here in my function, the last time I saw Z, it was equal to 6. So you might think you will print out a 6 and everything will be well in the world. Excuse me if I look soaking wet. I did dump my butt in the shower, but I'm still soaking wet and it's muggy. So I'm sitting here dripping while I'm doing this Python video. All right, print Z, you figure everything will be okay, but you know what? It's not going to be okay. When I run, I blow up. And at the very end, it says name Z not defined. What you need to remember is something called scope. When you go off and run a function, think of it as a little mini program that's being run off on the side. Because technically, that's exactly what's happening. So I give it the 2 and the 3 for A and B. It goes through all the machinations of the commands in here. Okay? It does Z cubed, it gets the 216 and returns it, and then it goes away. Then it's not in memory anymore. Or at least it's not in a place we can access it. All right? So when I say print Z, I'm outside the function call. Okay? Python doesn't know what Z is. This is already run, this is already gone, this is already finished. So there's no way it knows what it is. Okay? Same thing would happen if I tried to print A. It doesn't know what A is. A is something that was used up here in the function. And technically this here is just a definition. So when you make this call, you go up to the definition and say, hey, I want to use this. Goes off, grabs a little space of memory and runs it. And then once it returns that number, gone. All right? So remember that. Now, push comes to shove. If I really want to print that Z, what I do is I print it in the context of the function. Okay? So that way when it runs, then I'll print my 6. As you can see, a 6 is here. Or I could set up a return so that I send the 6 back out, and then I could print it down here. But the point of this is to remember that when you run your function, all of these variables that are used within the function, after the function call is done, those variables are gone. Okay? Think of functions as little side programs, which is what they are at the end of the day. We're compartmentalizing our logic, and we're creating little side programs that we can run with a main program. Okay? All right, that's the first thing we want to go over. The second thing we want to go over is this. Multicube, 2, 3. What's going to happen when I run that? Let's find out. It's always the best way. All right, nothing. But I got no error. It's just nothing happened. Let's see. Let's go down the line. I got comments. I got a big string that's not considered. I've got a definition of my function, which is cool. I've got a string. It's not considered. And then I have one command, multicube 2, 3. So I call 2, 3. I come up here. It returns 6 to this line. But I don't capture it in a value, in a variable, I mean to say. And I don't print it. I don't really do anything with it. Now, that's not necessarily an error, because I ran the function and it returned a value, but it didn't return it to anything. Okay? You've got to remember, if you're using a fruitful function, and multicube is what's called a fruitful function, it's going to return a value that you want to capture that value, or at the very least print it so that you could use it. So what I really want to do is I want to say A equals, you know what, these are the least descriptive variables. I should be sent to the Bad Professor Hall of Fame for using these crappy variable names. Answer equals multicube, and then I'm going to print answer. So now I have my 216. I've saved it in a variable, which is what most people will do with a fruitful function. If you just print it, then you don't really save it, and you can't use it elsewhere in your program. So most people will save it in a variable. So if you have a fruitful function, in this case multicube is fruitful, it's going to return the cube of the product of those two integers, then I want to save it to a variable. So you need to make sure, and I know I mentioned this in the slides, you need to make sure that you are saving the values when you get them back out. Okay? All right. Then those are the things that I want you to remember. Let's see what a grand finale looks like with this. All right, not the greatest thing in the world, but you know what? Grand finales are grand finales. You do not have to worry, because I'm going to take this code and I'm going to put it in your Sakai resources, so you will have it to play around with, and you can play with functions and do some different things with functions. I am not going to clobber you with announcements, because you're pretty much going to get a video every night for the next 3 or 4 nights, hopefully, if I time things out right and I do things correctly. Because like I always say, I am interested in front-loading your resources so you have them all, so you can read the slides, so you can do all those other things. Remember, this is Big Bad Unit 3. It's a longer unit. You know, if you've seen the slides are about 1.5 what you're used to. Okay? 3 distinct sections, functions, files, modularity, and libraries. All right? Do not wait for the last weekend for this one. Do not wait for the 4th of July weekend and say, yeah, I'll just do it in a couple of years. You will get bit in the ass. It is not a good thing to wait on this one. Okay? I will go more into it when I do announcements. The very last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this every time I do a video this week, all 3 or 4 of them, is do not sleep on the midterm project. It is due July 11th. There is still time. I know, it's like 3 weeks, but go look at the assignment. You got to spend a couple hours with Code Academy, a couple hours with Learn Python the Hard Way, a couple hours with the MIT videos. Then you got to write it up, compare and contrast. What do you think? Compare it to other ways of learning. Boom, boom, boom. All right. You don't want to get caught behind and have to do a rush job on that. All right. So, if you look at the way the grade breaks down, the midterm's a decent amount of points. So you want to make sure you do well on that. All right. All right. Then I'm going to let you go. The next time you'll see me is tomorrow night or the next night when I get you the file video. And then a few nights after that, I'll get you the library video. And then after that, I will get you how to do Euler 6 with all the new skills we've learned in Unit 3. All right? And then, hopefully, and I don't know when I promise, but probably by the end of the week, I'm going to get you the assignment. So you have the assignment, and you can say, oh, okay, now I know what I have to do now. Boom, 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 boom. All right? But I want, before I get you that assignment, I want to get you all the resources. So I know you're looking at resources. I know you're reading, and I know you're doing stuff. All right? Start reading earlier, please. I leave little Easter eggs in these slides so I know when people are reading, and a lot of people did not read until very late for Unit 2. Okay? Do not get caught behind. All right, enough said. All right, then you be good. I'm getting out of here. I'll talk to you later. Bye.